read again. The page number 4. First we'll read the Pali. From the second passage, saying, Sayyathapi bhikkhave dakho bhamakaro va vamakarante vasi va dikhang va anchanto dikhang anchamiti pajanati rasam va anchanto rasam anchamiti pajanati eva meva ko bhikkhave bhikkhu dikhang va atsasanto dikhang atsasamiti pajanati dikhang va patsasanto dikhang patsasamiti pajanati rasam va atsasanto rasam atsasamiti pajanati rasam va patsasanto rasam patsasamiti pajanati Sabbakaya pati samvedhi assasissamiti sikkhati Sabbakaya pati samvedhi passasissamiti sikkhati Pasambhayam kaya sankharang assasissamiti sikkhati Pasambhayam kaya sankharang passasissamiti sikkhati Iti ajjhattam va kaye kayanupassi viharati Bahidha va kaye kayanupassi viharati Ajjatta bahidha va kaye kayanupassi viharati Samudaya dhammanupassi va kayasming viharati Vaya dhammanupassi va kayasming viharati Samudaya vaya dhammanupassi va kayasming viharati Atthikayo divapanassa satipatthana hoti Yavadeva jnanamattaya patisati mattaya Anisito ca viharati Naca kinci loke upadiyati Evam bhikkho bhikkhave bhikkhu kaye kayanupassi viharati. So, would you mind to read the last passage? Thus, on page 7.
Page 7.
On thus?
From the top bit here or the bottom?
No, this.
Okay, that one there. Thus he dwells observing body in body internally, or he dwells observing body in body externally, or he dwells observing body in body both internally and externally. Thus he dwells observing the phenomenon of arising in the body. Thus he dwells observing the phenomenon of passing away in the body. Thus he dwells observing the phenomenon of arising and passing away in the body. Now his awareness is established. This is body. Thus he develops his awareness to such an extent that there is mere understanding along with mere awareness. In this way he dwells detached, without clinging towards anything in the world of mind and matter. This is how a monk dwells, observing body in body.
Okay. So last week we covered up to the kaye kayanupassi viharati on this. Yeah. So that means he dwells observing body in the body both internally and externally. Right? So we discussed on that what is internally and what is externally, and that was a long discussion. Today we will be focusing on starting from samudaya dhammanupassi va kayasaming viharati Vaya dhammanupassi va kayasaming viharati samudaya vaya dhammanupassi kaya saming viharati. There are 3 sentences, and that's the second part of this passage. The first part is the kaya nupassi in the bahita, ajatta bahita. That's the first one. The second one is samudaya vaya dhammanupassi. Right? So it's the second part. In the second part, samudaya dhammanupassi. Samudaya is basically origination. Origination or arising. Samudaya is making. Samudaya. So Dhamma, I explained already last week that it's a principle. Anupassi is remembering or revisiting, closely looking at it and reflecting it again and again. It's like a rehearsal. We're doing again and again. And here, samudaya dhammanupassi kaya saming viharati. So, by contemplating or reflecting on the kaya, you are with the kaya, the body, knowing this arising of the kaya. And here, and this is a very difficult one, to see how the kaya or this body arises. First, we can't comprehend it because our body is already exist. Our body is already here. We can't see how something is created, or how something is arising. So that's why it is a difficult one. Right? And the second thing is, again, samudaya is also referring in the doctrine coming from the paticca-samuppada. Okay? Because in order to have the arising, it requires the craving, and it requires avidya, ignorance. So that's why this is even deeper going in there. It's difficult. And then further on, to understand it, that this body to arise, it has so many other elements comes together. Only then this body will be arisen or formed. And in a short form, after this process been done, in order to let this body to survive, that means there is constant arising and vanishing going on. And that is with the breath. Right? So that's why it's connected to the breathing practice. The question is, do you know the paticca-samuppada? Yeah? So, a paticca-samuppada is a dependent origination.
It's like, it's everything's going back.
Depending on something that arises. Yeah? So avidya is the main, or kind of a beginning of this cycle of a paticca-samuppada, the dependent origination. Yeah? So avidya paccaya sankhara. Avidya, or the ignorance, is conditioned to arise the sankhara, the formation. Sankhara paccaya vijnana. This formation, volitional formation, is the cause to arise the consciousness. Now consciousness here, although English translation says consciousness, now it is referring to some form of a mind. But when we look at the consciousness in Buddhist term, is cognition. It's ability to cognize. And having this cognition, the sense cognition, this vijnana, then the vijnana paccaya nama-rupa. So consciousness causes to arise the nama-rupa. And a nama and a rupa here is talking about the body and mind. Okay? So body and mind. So the whole process, again, after this nama and rupa, nama rupa pachaya salayata. So nama rupa is the mind and the matter, conditions to arise the six senses. So you have the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and the mind, even the thought. Right? And this salayatana makes to have a contact with the outside world. Salayatana pachaya phassa. Phassa here is referring to the outside object. It's called external sense space. So the objects. For eyes to see the object, so you have to have eye object, like that. Ears to hear sound, it has to have the sound as an object. Like there are six. So phassa, the contact. Phassa is a contact. And then phassa pachaya vedana. Now when the six senses, eye comes to contact with the eye object, that generates a spark. That is called a vedana. So that vedana, or the sensation or the feeling. And this feeling becomes the cause to arise the tanha, the craving. Craving will not arise if there is no feeling. And the feeling will not arise if there is no six senses. And not only the outer, external six sense basis. If there is no external or six sense basis, then again six sense hasn't got any meaning. It will not create any. So it goes on. A six sense basis, and that's because of the nama and a rupa, the mind and the body there. So the process begins like this. And now because of this craving, or the tanha, and not knowing avidya, ignorance, not knowing this, the feelings, the reality of this feeling, when upadana, attachment arises. So, tanha pachaya upada. And because of an attachment, there is an existence. So that object becomes inexistent. So, that is called a bhava. Upadana pachaya bhava. And then bhava pachaya jati jara marana. Because of the existence you have created, it's called, there is another form, there is a missing link that's called a kamma bhava. Because of this, you have created as a form in your consciousness, you will create to have a reason, and that's called bhava. And after is a reason, that is subject to jara, marana, sopa, pariteva, dukkha, domanasana. There will be jara is a decay, vanishing. Meanwhile, because of that, there will be a dissatisfaction, the sadness, and so on will arise. So that is the dependent origination. So here, it is coming from that dependent origination, the paticca-samuppada too. And in the paticca-samuppada, in particular, for the samudaya to arise, it requires two factors, that is avidya and tanha. Avidya means ignorance, and tanha means craving. And a question may come, what is the avidya? What is the ignorance? And what is the tanha? So, the root cause of all the creation or everything to arise or everything to form is avidya and tanha, that ignorance and this craving. And this ignorance and craving normally in our day-to-day life, when we look at it, there is the nama rupa, salayatana, phassa and vedana. These are in the present time. It's always here. So, this Vedana is something like, let's say, the Nama Rupa already exists. That's why earlier on I said, our body, our life is already exist. So it would be very difficult to question. It's like a Nama Rupa is already exist, and then this is continue existing, and then the Salayatana, the six senses are still exist, and this is also continue existing. And because of having the six senses, so there will be constant contact happening. And with these contacts, the Vedana is always in the present moment. The sensations are happening in the present moment. It's arising all the time. Every moment by moment. Every milliseconds it's created. When we look at the Chitta Mamaka, 17 mental states arises. And one single mind moment, this Chitta to arise. So that fast it is happening. So, and this Vedana, the feeling is like that. It's arising in that many fast. And this is the only thing happening. And now, not knowing the reality of this arising Vedana, what happens is that we crave. So craving becomes the link. Crave is future. So craving is basically creating something. Okay? So this has become a main root cause. So the Vedana, not knowing the Vedana and the avidya, will create the tanha. Okay? And because of these two things, we create something, and that's how the new arising starts. Now here, in the practice, the satipatthana is suggesting you are aware of that. So you're contemplating on how this is creating or originating. That's why it is not easy one. Okay, so this is one concept. And then you are contemplating on that this is how this body is created. Or this is how the body generates or originates. This is called samudaya. That's the first part. And the first part is already done, that life is already exists. We can't question about. And the second is according to the paticca samuppada, how it is samudaya originated. The third, there is again, this body to arise, it requires food, nutrition. Yeah, it's called a nutriment. So there are 4 different nutriments that is helping. And one particular is called a kavalingarahara. There is a food. And here, a food is a vital part for arising of the originating or arising or continue arising of this body. Right? And seeing that again. And here the suggestions given, particularly in the practice of meditation, suppose you are going on the retreats, the Vipassana meditation teaches around day 6 will ask you to notice that how many spoons of a rice you have taken, and then 1 spoon, how many times did you chew, right? And then when you swallow it, as you are swallowing it, what sort of effects you can feel in your body. That's the beginning. And further on, let's say you have a lunch at 11 o'clock, and then in the later evening, so after a couple of hours of a meditation, if you're going back to report your progress in the meditation, then meditation master will ask again about the food consumption and the effect of that food consumption to your body. And the first thing you will experience is the drowsiness. After eating, you feel drowsy. Mm-hmm. And that is also affecting the body. So food is affecting to the body. Mm-hmm. And then food is supplying to what is called samudaya, forming, originate or arising of this body. So that is also one part. And then later, if you're paying close attention to the body, you also realize difference in your skin or in your entire body as well. Suppose you have eaten a little bit spicy, then you feel this heat constantly generated, and this is how your body been constantly originating with. You can feel that. And if you add something is not not spicy, but a new taste that you never tasted before, that also affects your body too. And further on, suppose you have eaten something a little bit more and you're paying attention to your body chemicals, then you feel a smoothness in your skin or kind of swollen little bit. Like you have given the vitamins and then it's just swollen a little bit like that. So that is also can observe. And this is this you will be asked to note on those. And now, in relation to that again, there will be extra saying, as you breathe in and breathe out, the breath is going into your the vessels, blood vessels, through this pumping from the heart. So hadaya vatu, from the heart, pumping. So you are again kind of experiencing the breath is taking all the nutritions, pass through the blood and supplying all the atoms of your body. And that's how you're again creating the body, samudaya. Mm-hmm. Yeah? So that is the another way of practice, of reflecting on that. That's why it is not an easy one. Yeah? And this, when you are, suppose you are eating mindfully, then you can experience it. Suppose you, nowadays there is a practice called a raising practice. Have you done it? Raising eating. Raising, I forgot the exact what they call it. Now it's very popular in a secular mindfulness classes. So they will give you a raisin, and then you are playing with that raisin using all the senses, and you're eating that one simple small raisin. But surprisingly, that will fills your stomach, and that happens like that. So this is the practice. And when we are eating mindfully, we don't have to eat too much.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to eat too much. And every food that we are eating with so mindful that it becomes more nutritious. And more nutritious, and then that supplies the nutrition in our body. And this is how this entire body is arising. Samudaya is forming. Right? So like that. And these are like paticca-samuppada, the dependent origination, and how the food and the breath conditions or causes or helps to arise this entire body, we become mindful of that. So now we're paying attention to that deep. Okay? So that's why it's called viharati. So you are dwelling with that. Contemplating and dwelling on that. One thing quite interesting though in this concept, not that much spoken and not that much explained when we go to meditate. And occasionally some teachers do explain, but not in relation to contemplate the arising or origination of this phenomena of the body. But some other relationship. That is the creation of our own life. Like we were born already, so it's already formed. And very rarely it was spoken. But when we look at the Buddha's teachings, then the Buddha said, Pathamang kalalang hoti kalala hoti aputta. Aputta, basi, and so on. So Buddha is simply explaining that how what is called a mother, what's called contraception, or you're born in the mother's womb.
Conceive.
Yes, sorry, yeah. Yes, thank you. Conceiving. In order to be conceived, so father has to have good health and ability to supply sperm, the healthy sperm. And then the mother has to have a perfect time. Okay, perfect time with the perfect ovum, and then ability to receive that one sperm from millions. And you take one. And that sperm, again, with the so-called birth-linking consciousness, patisandhi vijnana, going into with that sperm, and that's how someone will conceive there. Mm-hmm. Right? And that is this theory Buddha explained. In science, you may be seeing only mother and father slept together, and then sperm went into the woman, and that's how you get the baby in the womb. But Buddha is saying there must have this patisandhi vijnana. And this patisandhi vijnana, the birth-linking consciousness, once it's get into there, and that's how we are formed. Right? And a question may come, who is this patisandhi vijnana? Yeah? So who is this patisandhi vijnana? The birth-linking consciousness. And that is we. And here, sometimes, particularly in the West, there is a saying, well, we didn't want you, but you just came in. And that causes trouble. Children feel like, oh, this is my fault. Sometimes the mother and father were having fun and you just dropped. Yeah? So that is we ourselves force ourselves to be born. it is not mother and father's fault, or mother and father's love. It is not like their thing. It's our thing. That we say something like, "Oh, I want to be in your belly. Can I have a space?" So we just take the space in that relationship, and that's how we reborn. Okay, so that's why this patisandhi vijnana, the consciousness, is taking whatever action that we have performed from the past. And so that's why every action that we perform, and now it is relating now here again, dependent origination, how we accumulate the actions. And so that's again not knowing the Vedana, the feelings, and desiring it. So we again form. And this forming again by bodily, verbally, and even the thinking towards a good and a bad. And this creating of a good and a bad, every action that we attach to it, we cling on to it, and that again becomes the seed. And that becomes a seed and goes into the cycle of rebirth again. So this is how it links. Right? And this, the first part of how we come into being, are not that much explained. Right? But this paticca samuppada, the dependent origination, how it generates, how it forms, are well explained. And then in the practice, we have to contemplate on that a lot. That how things, even like, that's why you may hear, and the teachers will be saying, see, just see. Hear, just the hearing. Like that. At the moment when we think about who, what, that means we have already engaged. So we are already creating furthermore. That's why I'm saying when we are practicing meditation, suppose we hear a noise. Our eyes are shut, so when we hear a noise, it is just a noise. So we just hear, not listening. The moment when we listen to that sound, what happens is we are trying to conceptualize that whose sound, and what it is, what's happened, why this sound is coming. And further on, we will be making the sense of that words, and we will be trying to think of our own story, making our own story in our head. And that's again from our own perceptions. Our experience, our knowledge, our understanding, we're bringing towards it. Trying to make sense of it. By our experience that we had been. That may not be the right. And simply we're bringing those memories and those experiences on the surface and working with the sound that we have heard and trying to make sense of it. But in the practice, what it is saying, rather than listening to that sound, just the hearing. And that's it, done. Right? That's it. And with that, you are disconnected. And here, basically, is breaking the chain.
Okay.
Yeah? Breaking the chain. And this is how you will be ending here. So that's why the Buddha's teaching is saying, doesn't matter what you have done in the past. It's a matter of how you're dealing with it, here and now. You're changing here. And here, this is the moment, anything, what happens, any the knowledge or any cognition taking place at this moment, is you to decide. Are you going to listen or are you going to just hear? So here the ends. Now, with this ending, the second phrase is a vaya dhamma, vanishing or the fading. So it's saying here, vaya dhammanupassi va kaya samena viharati. And that's simply opposite of the whole process that I was explaining. Only one little bit of a simplified one is jite jitamata. When you hear, when you see, only see. So you're able to break it here. That's the further one more step. But in the practice of a meditation, what is here, vaya dhammanupassi, basically referring is seeing the vanishing of it. Early on, seeing the origination of it, how it arises, how it formed. And now the second part is how this is vanishing. How this is vanishing. So fading away. And that this fading away, we are learning from the very beginning of the practice. And you may hear people, the teachers are saying, don't worry, it doesn't last long. It just goes away. It won't last long. What is lasting is your grasp. But the reality is changing. It's fading away, like that. And now, in the forming practice, we are looking at, like say, breathing in. Breathing in, we are forming all the process. Now, breathing out is basically, in a simplified form, is vanishing. So that's why nowadays the practice, particularly in a secular practice, to see this vaya dhammanupassi, they have conceptualized. And you breathe in, simply breathe in. But when you breathe out, you're counting up to 5. That's all. And then out. So you're completely fading away or vanishing the breath. And that is also one form of looking at it, explained in this way. And another one is, in a simple way, saying, breathing in is forming, breathing out is dying. So vaya dhamma, so vanishing. Right? So that is, and now here, vaya dhammanupassi, you seeing this fading away. And here, what is fading away? Kaya, the body. So body is constantly fading away, and you're dwelling on that, knowing it, and reflecting on that again and again. So that is referring here. Vaya dhammanupassi va kaya samena viharati. So decaying or fading away. Okay. And you will hear, if you listen the meditation guidance or meditation interviews, teachers will be talking about it a lot. That how things vanishes. Don't worry, everything will go away. Even the thought will just passes away. And then this is also in relation to the before in the Sabbakaya Padisamvedi, there is the awareness of breath from beginning, middle and end. And here also, in the practice of a Vaya Dhamma, when we are watching it, the Vaya Dhamma, it just fades away and it's just vanishing away. As it vanishes, before it completely vanishes, something arises. Another object, you vaguely see it, the fuzzy view there. And this is also, the more this fuzzy view becomes more prominent, that means we are seeing this fading away. And this mind is just like you're flipping the page. So you see this. As you flip, so it's forming, and then as the end, it ends, the vaya, gone. And then the moment when you try to conceptualize, you have already lost the present feeling, the present moment, that you are dwelling in the past. So that you also able to notice that one. And then, now this is the samudaya dhamma and then vaya dhamma. And the third one is samudaya vaya dhamma. You're seeing both sides, arising and vanishing at the same time, or trying to be mindful of how it arises and how it fades away. And you're dwelling on that, so contemplating on that. Again and again, dhammanupassi, again and again. Okay? So that is the second phrase of this passage. Now, do you have anything to ask before we move on from this second part?
It's more like about when you're talking about like craving and things like that. If you've got like say like problems happen in day-to-day life, or like say there was like a flood or something in your house, you're going to have a craving for it to not be there, like to have things back to normal. How do you...
Oh, that's a different thing.
Yeah, like...
You have to classify it as a need. Need and want is different thing.
Yeah. Okay.
So that is your responsibility to repair.
Fix the problem.
Fix the problem.
And move on.
That is, and after you have fixed it, you are not attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to put all the efforts to fix it.
Okay.
It's not about making you feel proud. It's not about making you feel special. It's not about fulfilling your desires. It is a responsibility of you to be in this building, and you are responsible of doing it.
And you do it without attachment to an outcome. Okay, thank you.
So that's why we always have to check that responsibility and duties. That's one thing, and then desire is another thing. And here you can see the need and the want. There was a story, there is a story that one monk was he built a meditation hut and meditating, and then somehow because of the wind, the half of the roof blown away, and he thought, "Oh, I don't attach to this hut. I don't care. I just meditate." And that is not the right. So you have to repair it. Repair the roof, and then meditate, so you don't have to worry.
Okay.
So here you are placing yourself as a special one that I am not attached to. So there is still I am. It's not a natural thing.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah.
I am not attached to this. So like that.
There's no I to not be attached to that. Yeah.
So that's why in the Buddhist the monks' rules, there are some rules as well, that we are responsible of looking after the place. keeping it tidy, cleaning, and keeping it all watertight and things. Like that. So there is a rule. And now, suppose if you are in a forest tradition, then you have to do it every single day. Every single day as a routine. You can't avoid that one. That is how you will be checked, whether you are consistent or not. And that is also a form of checking your practice too, and how mindful you are. And then also that is a form of a community responsibility. So you are part of the community. So you will be part of it. And this is like in forest tradition is like you have to do in the afternoon, so around 4 or 5 o'clock time. But there are other temples, they have set like in the morning. After, so let's say they go Vindapata and then we'll have a light breakfast. And after that, then the first job is to clean the whole temple, keep everything in tidy. And this comes as one of the rules too. And now you can't say that I am not attached to it. This is not belongs to me. This temple is not belongs to me, so I don't have to do. I just live here, and the community give me, and then I go. No. This is given. This is also part of your responsibility to look after and take care. And if something wrong, you have to repair. And that's repairing is not because, oh, this is mine and I want to repair. So the very moment when you have this I making, my making, then there is a trouble. But as long as you're just fulfilling your responsibility and finishing it, then that's done. Like that. So that's why the moment when you feel that you are responsible of this, then you will be taking care of everything without having an attachment. You simply become a good caretaker. But you, meanwhile, you will be using it and enjoying it. So like that. Okay. And now, after these 2 parts, and the last week and today, after this part, there is a word called Attikayotiva panasa satipatthana hoti. After that, you have fully understood yourself, your body. Attikayotiva. This is my body. This is body. This is body, that you have seen it. So you have a full awareness about it, and you have fully understood. So sati patchupatita hoti. So your mindfulness has been fully established to see the reality of this body as it is, rather than this is my body. Now you see, first this body, and then connect to another body that we discussed last week. And now today we are seeing how this body conditioned from so many dimensions, and then meanwhile this body is vanishing, that I can't have any control over it. So with this, basically we are not holding that this is my body. So there will be no I making and a my making. And this is basically one part of learning to understand that normally we project ourselves with this is me, this Sujan, born in Nepal, and I am Nepalese. I am born and following Buddhism, Theravada Buddhism. I am a Theravada monk. And then now I am a teacher. I am an abbot. So we're taking all those crowns and we are saying that this is me. And without this, we feel, who am I? When we are talking, we're bringing all those things.
Concepts in your mind, yeah.
Whereas here, Buddha's teaching is seeing that these are not what you think you are.
It's an illusion, yeah.
So that's why it's saying attikayotiba. So you see the reality of your body without having all the crowns. All the crowns. So you're giving up away. And then yavadeva jnana mattaya patisati mattaya. Yavadeva, in these ways, jnana mattaya. Knowledge has been a reason. So, patisati mattaya anishitoja viharati. So you don't have any clinging on it. Anishito. So you have no clinging. Nacha kinchi loke upadiyati. So no grasping and clinging. Evam bhikho bhikkhave bhikkhu kaye dhammanupassi viharati. So this is how one dwells in the body. So this is the end of the first part of the dhammanupassana. So that's in 7th week. So we have gone only this part, okay? But after this, everything becomes easier. Right? After this, everything becomes easier. And this is like a foundation that we have to establish. Okay? So we end here for tonight. And do you have anything to ask?
No, that's...
If not, then we'll do the loving kindness meditation, which is finished up. Spend some times relaxing yourself. And reflecting on tonight's session. Samudaya dhamma, vaya dhamma. How we practice loving kindness meditations and feel the sensations in your entire body. And bring that attention to your hands. And to your heart. And as you feel the beating heart, generating loving kindness and compassion to yourself. I am well, I am happy, I am at peace. I am well, I am happy, I am at peace. Similarly, showering loving kindness and compassion to all other sentient beings, starting from near dear ones, and to all other sentient beings. Whatever beings there are, may they be well, may they be happy, may they be at peace. As you hear the gong, slowly come out from meditation and reflect for a few moments. Let's be still. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivati Sawakhato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Sabatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Margaret, Karina, David. Good night and see you tomorrow.